Hi, how's it going? This is Resident of Collinwood. I'm here to do a review of Rob Zombie's Halloween. I'm actually going to be doing all the Halloweens this month, and I'm going to start with Rob Zombie's two Halloween movies. First, the 2007 movie, which is supposed to be a remake of John Carpenter's Halloween, but in a lot of ways it really isn't. His movie stars Taylor Scott Compton, Taylor Maine, Malcolm McDowell. Actually, I probably should have put Malcolm McDowell's name first, but that's okay. You get what I'm saying. Sherry Moon Zombie. Yes, that's Rob Zombie's wife. Um, what's interesting here is this movie actually gets into Michael's childhood. Now, I'm going to be discussing the differences between this movie and John Carpenter's Halloween because, in my opinion, I wouldn't call this movie a remake. I know, like, everyone says, well, it was going through the remake craze. Look, I've seen the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake with Jessica Biel. That's a remake. This, I wouldn't call it a remake. I would more call it Rob's own version of events. That's really what this movie should be called, because that's, to me, that's what this is, and that's not a knock. That's just my opinion. Um, the differences here are in John Carpenter's Halloween, Michael Myers was 6. In Rob Zombie's Halloween, Michael Myers was 10 years old and he talked. In John Carpenter's Halloween, the events took place in 1963. In Rob's events, now correct me if I'm wrong, because I've seen both the theatrical and the unrated version of both movies of his, and I don't believe they put a year on the first one at least. And it more looks like Rob's events take place in more modern day, or I should say 2007. So, in my opinion, if you guys see it differently, that's fine. Now, in John Carpenter's Halloween, Michael Myers just kills his sister Judith for no rhyme or reason. We still don't know to this day. All we know about Judith Myers is that she was a lousy babysitter and she got stabbed by her 6-year-old brother. In Rob Zombie's Halloween, he is a 10-year-old living with a poor ass stepfather, a sister who is a complete bitch, a baby named Angel Myers, who will later be called, who's going to change her name to Laurie Strode and go in like some sort of parent thing, adoption with the Strodes. So, really, Rob Zombie's first two Halloweens are sort of a, if you will, retold version of the first two Halloweens in a other way, but they're Rob's way. They're Rob Zombie's way, if that's fair. Um, excuse me. The the most interesting character to me was Sherry Moon Zombie's character, and I'm going to get to why here in a moment. I want to touch on the one character I felt killed this movie because here's the thing, and I'm going to touch upon this in part two. They do not even mention his character in part two. They do nothing to bring him up. They do nothing to even talk about him, and that's the stepfather of Michael, Judith, and Angel Myers, or Laurie Strode, whatever you want to call her. Um, and here's the thing: he's an antagonist. He antagonizes this entire family, and including Michael, even Judith. And so it's understandable why Judith's a bitch in this. I sort of somewhat feel for this whole family of this guy being there, and you don't want people, to me, in my opinion, to feel sorry for Michael Myers. I'm not going to sit here and rant about the movie. I'm just going to talk about it. This isn't a rant. This is just an honest review. Um, the stepdad, he is. He's just an antagonist, and he antagonizes, again, he even antagonizes the mother, played by Sherry Moon Zombie, and I don't understand why she puts up with him. And some people are going to defend it by, well, he was help watching the kids. Okay, Judith is a teenager who's, yes, she's a bitch and she's horny, but she actually does watch the child, the little baby. Michael Myers is 10 years old, and not only can he take care of himself, but he can take care of people who tries to kick his ass because he's been murdering not only his pets, but he murders the kid who tries to kick his ass later in the film. And he actually watches a kid. So you have two kids of your own watching the other kid. Again, what's the point of the stepdad? Why is he there? Now, my wife pointed out to me, maybe she just wanted another adult in the house. Okay, but I get that, but in the same sense, this guy's treating everybody like shit. So what's the point of him being there if he's treating everybody like that? And she's like, yeah, that's true. And I applaud that point she made because, I mean, yeah, maybe I could see him being there, and maybe she didn't know what was going on, but she hears it too. And I think for the most part, Cherry Moon Zombie's character, this is why I was curious about her. I love Malcolm McDowell's portrayal of Loomis in this. That's actually really, really good. In the theatrical and the uncut version of this. In part 2, no. Hated it. Hated that performance there. I'd rather choose to remember this performance than to even talk about the second, because he actually did a good job at this one. And the unrated version of Rob Zombie's Halloween 2007, it's a tad different with some of the characters, not night and day, and the story, I would say, is different in a bit. Again, not night and day, just a tiny bit. But there's not the 180 change that 2 brings, and so I'm trying not to jump into 2. So I promise I will stick to 1, but because I am going to be reviewing 2 or talking about 2, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, and so Rob Zombie gets into Michael Myers' childhood in this, and I think we all knew that was coming with Rob Zombie. My brother even said prior, once it was announced that Rob Zombie was doing, he goes, he's probably going to get into his childhood, and I got to give credit to my brother, my late brother. He said that, and I was like, yeah, probably, and he ended up being right. And the one thing I'll say is, the cinematography in this is good. I don't love the storytelling. I don't love the ridiculous amount of profanity. I get it's a horror movie, and I don't mind profanity in film. It got to the point of mind-numbing profanity. Of, okay, really? And that's what kills this dialogue, just the profanity use. I mean, it's just coming out left and right, and you don't catch your breath at all. And I don't love that with this. I just felt that was just... It was like a bunch of people swearing at each other, and one guy's instigating all of it. All they have to do is throw his ass out the house, and they don't. And obviously, Michael turns into a murderer. Did I feel sorry for him? No. And I'm gonna get to something with Halloween 6 and Resurrection real quick. I did not feel sorry for Michael in those films, and I did not feel sorry for Mike. I did not want to feel sorry for Michael, but they made me... You can't make someone feel sorry for Michael Myers, because when you do, it humanizes him. And that's my biggest issue with Rob's films. He became humanized in these films especially. Especially in this one. When they humanized him, that's why I hate this movie so much. I don't hate it because of who did it. I hate it because how it was done. And I think that's something that needs said right away. That I don't hate Rob Zombie. I've seen 4 of his films. I did not like any of them, and he humanized Michael Myers to a degree. Yeah, he made him look like the size of Frankenstein. Taylor Mane played Michael Myers. I have no problem with the mask. Sort of like the second half of this, when they get to Laurie Strode's like teenage years, a lot of that after this is sort of I would say is sort of a touch of John Carpenter's Halloween. You see the streets of Haddonfield. the asylum and stuff. Michael escapes. I thought that was sort of silly how they made him escape. I didn't really care for that. I thought that should have been more cloak and dagger. Excuse me. And again, I liked Malcolm McDowell in this. I wish Sherry Moon Zombie's character would have lived. I actually was so curious about her character and why she put up with that guy. And I feel she should have been more the protagonist in this story. And people were going to say, why? Because I think that could have had redemption for her character. You could still have this character been a stripper. But where was her redemption story? Where was her redemption quality? I feel that was there for her, but they just didn't go down that road. So I don't hate her performance in this movie. I like her character in this movie. I just don't like the fact that they killed her off, because then they didn't. To me, they did nothing with her. And I know they did stuff with her in 2, but I just felt that was senseless. Especially the route they went. And again, I'm not trying to jump. But I wish they'd have left her character live, and you could have built the story more around her, and not just Laurie Strode, not just Angel Myers or what have you. I think it'd have been interesting. I still think you could have had Malcolm McDowell perform good, her be sort of the protagonist in this as well. If they would have had her get killed at the end of this by Michael instead of Malcolm McDowell, then that would have made, to me, a more interesting story than what they ended up doing. And that's what I'll say. It's not the best told story. It's shot well. It's just not, from a story standpoint, great. And I like that they killed the Strodes in this. Danielle Harris is in this, and Danielle Harris, amazing actress. She was a good Annie Brackett. Again, I just feel that a lot of this is, the second part of this movie is like touching on John Carpenter's Halloween. That's where I'd say the remake part comes in a little bit. And to give this movie a rating, I give it a 2. I do not give it above a 2. I know a lot of people are fans of it. I'm not. But I'm not here to kill it. I'm not here to rant about it. I'm just here to review it. And so that's sort of my review. And something I'll touch on before I leave is the ending of this movie has Taylor Scott Compton. Oh, sorry. God, I'm bad pronunciation. Please forgive me. That she was on top of Michael and pulled the trigger, and she started screaming and blood covered her face. I just thought to myself, and here's the thing, I was in a theater when this movie ended, and people were just shouting at the screen like, bleep you, Rob. And I just, I don't do that. I've never ever ranted at a screen before in a theater, but that's just how some people are. And it's just like, I looked at my brother, I said, never again are you bringing me this. And I went right back for Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 to see what he would do. I'm trying to think I didn't like the fact that they made Michael run at Laurie / Angel Myers at the end of this. That's pretty much my review for Rob Zombie's Halloween 1. I do feel, again, they should have did different things with this to do a better story. Again, I don't look at this as a remake, not completely. To me, if you look at other remakes, this isn't a remake. This is sort of a someone's own version of events, and the other half of this movie is sort of John Carpenter's Halloween. Not completely. You can't really call this a remake. After watching this, I gotta say, I can't sit here and say it's a remake of John Carpenter's Halloween. But I know that's what it's listed as, so Alright, that's my review of Rob Zombie's Halloween. Hope you enjoyed it. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'm sure I'll hear some nasty comments about this.